Okay, good morning, everyone.
Mhm.
We are just going to wait for a few more minutes to see if more people join. Right, Keisha?
Yes, there
Right.
are
So,
over, yeah, there were quite a few, so
right. We'll give it a few minutes, so bear with us, please. Thank
okay.
you. All right. Hello again. We're just going to give it one more minute and then we will get started. Thank you. Okay, it's 9:05, so we're going to get started.
The workshop.
Um,
50. Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
I think it's a good time to start because we don't want to run too late. So it's 9:05, and we're going to have this wonderful workshop. Good morning, everyone, again.
Mhm.
My name is Gifty Ostrander. I'm a senior business advisor at the Stony Brook SPDC. Welcome to today's workshop, and thank you to our speaker, Frank Corrao of Active Work Group, AWB, Active Work Group, for presenting for us today. It's going to be an engaging presentation, on the fast-changing world of AI. We're going to learn how tools like ChatGPT, AI-driven marketing automation, and workflow integrations, a whole lot of technical stuff, how they are transforming small businesses today. And that would help you boost efficiency, reduce costs, and spark new growth, and much, much more. So I'll just give a little background about our presenter this morning. He is a senior digital strategist and marketing manager. He brings a wealth of cross-disciplinary expertise to his team. His name is Frank Corrao. With more than 15 years of experience shaping brand voices and visual identities across a wide range of industries, Frank has developed a deep understanding of strategic marketing, digital engagement, design, and branding. Driven by passion for continuous learning and innovation, he leads Active Web Group's SEO, paid search, and social media teams. He's deeply committed to working and collaborating and believes that the most effective outcomes are achieved through strong teamwork and shared vision. So we're going to hear from Frank today. It's going to be an engaging presentation, and I know we're all going to take a lot in today and learn a lot. So I want to take a brief moment to talk about our services. Stony Brook Small Business Development Services. We offer free and confidential one-on-one business counseling to both new businesses and existing businesses. Even if you just have an idea you want to explore and see if it has potential, by all means, please reach out to us. Our services are free. We offer services in quite a large area, right? Such as certification and procurement, access to capital, business planning, marketing, strategic development, international trade, and much, much, much more. So give us a call and we will be able to speak and see how best we can help you. We will share information on how to make an appointment with us in the chat. So at this point, let us turn this presentation over to Frank. Without much ado, the floor is yours. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for having me. Thank you, SBDC. I felt like I was receiving an award. It's time to update my profile because it's definitely been a lot more than 15 years, judging by the bags under my eyes. But thank you for having me. Today, we're going to review AI for small business. Now, I want to keep in mind that this is about what small business could do to accelerate growth as an entrepreneur. So it's not going to be in the weeds about various nuances of AI. What can I do from an SEM standpoint, SEO, SEM, pay-per-click? What can I do for email to automate email, and how do I go about it? So we're not going to get in the weeds there. We're going to talk about all the various things from an AI component. And as an entrepreneur, what could I do to expedite growth and success on my side, right? What can I outsource, essentially? Or what job can I give up to be successful? So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go over. Now, in 2 weeks following Thanksgiving, on the 4th, I'm going to be giving another lecture, which is about building a website that's going to convert and grow. So whether you're somebody who is trying to generate leads or you have an e-commerce website, we're going to go over all the nuances, and that's going to get a little bit more in the weeds than this presentation. All right. And towards the end, if you have any questions, please just put them in the chat. I'll save about 15 minutes or so I could go in and dissect those. If you want to raise your hand and speak, you can, or if you just want to type it in there, you're absolutely welcome to, and I'll go through and answer everyone that I possibly can. I also put my contact information in there, my email and my website. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to email me or fill out a form for my team. All right, guys, this is AI Demystified, driving small business success. All right, so 93% of employers recently polled believe that they expect to use some type of AI to run and grow and scale their business within the next 3 to 5 years. That's a huge number. So you can't take that lightly. Now, what is AI? You hear AI a lot. I hear this all the time. I've been hearing it for decades now. Okay, so AI started with Skynet, right? AI essentially refers to artificial intelligence. What that is It's a computer system that mimics human intelligence. It learns, it grows exactly like human will do, and it will input and do tasks just exactly how a human would do it. Now, a lot of people think that AI is this new thing. It's been around for decades and decades and decades, and I'm going to get into that. So AI could really be categorized into two real categories. There's narrow AI, and that's really weak AI. This is defined operational tasks. Essentially, you input something, and it gives you an output variable. You could essentially say a calculator, right, is AI or was AI. General AI, strong AI, this is more advanced AI that has human-like intelligence and can do human-related tasks, okay? Now, there are different stages within that component of the two different types of AI, weak AI and general AI. There's the artificial narrow intelligence, that's machine learning. These are machines that learn and grow over time. Think about Siri. I'm not going to say her name, but the Amazon product, my house will go crazy. That essentially is the speaker assist, right? The voice assist. That's machine learning AI. It learns and grows over time through user and human input. There's artificial AI, general AI, we'll call it. This is machine learning again, and this is computers that have their own intelligence and they continue to grow, right? That's the ChatGPTs of the world, okay? Then there's final stage, which is machine consciousness. We're not there yet. That's the Skynet. That's the Terminator. That's the T-1000. We're not there yet. Sarah Connor doesn't have to worry because we're not there. That is when essentially a computer system makes its own determination and its own scenario. That's when it says, okay, time to push the button for the nuclear weapons, right? We're not there yet. We're nowhere near there. Okay, breaking it down again, there's the machine learning, as I said. Think about Siri and alike. There's neural computer networks or systems. These are, again, meant to mimic the landscape of the brain, ChatGPT. Natural language processing. So this gives it the ability to speak and understand in its own capacity. And then robotics. Robotics has been around for a long time, think about Henry Ford and the assembly line, right? So these are machine-assisted tools that essentially mimic human production or human output. That's what we have right now. What are the benefits, really? So benefit-wise, of course, you can increase efficiency. You could grow your bottom line without thinking about hiring for various tasks, right? There are definitely tasks you want to hire for, and I'm going to get into why. But there are certain tasks you start to outsource. As an entrepreneur, we tend to want to be doing everything, right? Every little nuance of things. And I give the same lecture when I talk about general digital marketing overview, right? When I'm talking about it, you want to be an SEO expert. You want to be a social media master who's taking great photos and on TikTok and engage. And then you want to be the perfect accountant and you want to be able to master and manage your team while at the same time scaling, growing your business from an operational perspective and also paying your bills and doing what you have to do as an accountant, right? You can't really do all that stuff successfully at 100%. And that kind of hinders your ability to grow. Right. So what tools and systems can I put in place to kind of take a job away from myself, right? While I don't have capital to hire a real person to do said task and job. And that's what I want you to keep in mind as we go through this. Okay. So you can increase efficiency. You can increase customer experience to a degree. Pitfalls of that, pros and cons, I'll discuss. You can make data-driven decision-making. If you're somebody who's not super talented with an Excel spreadsheet, right? You don't know formulas. You're not really gifted with a calculator. You can start to make informed data decisions by inputting certain variables with something like a ChatGPT and then giving it an output. A good example I would have there, and I think I've given this in one of these presentations before, is if you're looking to start like a barbershop or a pizzeria, right? You could have it do some of that competitive analysis, right, within a given area, see what people are charging for a pizza pie. So the average pizza pie is $10. That's a cheap pizza, but they're charging $10, right? The average volume is we're doing 10 pies a day to keep the math simple. So we're selling 100 pies a day. We're selling 1,000 pies a week. within there, what is the margins for myself? How much rent can I afford? How much can I afford for employees? How much could I afford for the ingredients or the materials? Now it will export all that, and it will give you a rough guesstimation of where you need to be at in terms of margins. Can I be a couple dollars more? Can I be a couple dollars less? Does the rent make sense here? Does my employee time and management make sense here? So you can start to build a full business strategy, right? That you could then present to the SBDC. From there, some of your guides over there, and start to really grow and scale and come up with a mastermind idea for your business, which in turn then you can present to a bank or a hard lender. Say, give me some money, give me some working capital. Look at what I've done. So again, AI is good for a lot here, a lot to impact. And then of course there's a competitive advantage that now you have additional tools within your arsenal to build and scale and grow your business. All right. So AI is already in everyday tools. And I said this already. It's in a lot of the apps you open. It's been in Gmail for quite some time. It's in QuickBooks automation. It's been there for a long time as well. Now there's ChatGPT and the like. Of course, ChatGPT just tends to be the biggest player at the moment. I think that's the hot search engine. But then there's CRM suggestions that have been around for quite some time. You remember Mr. Clippy? You know, what was it? Windows 95, I believe Clippy first came out. Again, I'm getting old here, but he would say, hey, you should do this. It's really more of a tour, but that was meant to act like something that was AI. What was the other one? Bonsai Buddy, if you remember that guy who gave you all the viruses on your Windows computer. So AI has been around and we're trying to mimic this for quite some time. All right, AI in sales. I'm going to get more deep water about this. I just want to give you an overview here. So you could track and score leads automatically, which is huge. And this has also been around in Salesforce and a couple of other CRMs for some time, where you could take a lead between 1 to 5, see which one's the hottest, which one's the coldest, and then start to automate a nurture strategy there. Day 1, I'm going to make a call. If they don't call, day 4, it's going to send to my team's calendar to send an email. Day 6, maybe a text. And then if they don't reply, they don't operate within the set show close, I'm then going to go ahead and put them in a long-term nurture bucket that I've already created. That, again, that's something that you've now automated, that you could set it and forget it. They've entered my website funnel. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to book an appointment. I don't have to do a thing. That takes administrative duties out of your hands. Pre-qualify stuff with AI chatbots. So you could use a chatbot or a chat function on your website. And pros and cons here. The chatbot feature, I sometimes like, I sometimes hate. When you are trying to pay a bill or get some great customer service and you can't get anybody that's an actual human, that's been around for some time. Trying to press 0, really mad because they doubled your cable bill, and you're trying to talk to Optimum, but no one's around, and you're pressing 0 a bunch and just getting angrier and angrier. That's been around for a while. Now what we're seeing more of is less human interface, and there's more layers, if there's layers at all, to get to a human. And then you're going to see less and less humans in customer service. It's just going to happen. I'm sorry. But with that being said, what you can do is you can layer it as I described. So you could decide how hot or how important potential prospect is within predetermined things on your site from your chatbot that will say, okay, well, what's going on? Let's say you're an emergency response plumber. You're not going to want a chatbot. You're going to want people to call you. But let's just say, for example, the chat pops up. From there, you 1, 2, or 3. What's going on? Is my toilet overflowing into the bedroom? Or is there a slow leak that's just drip, drip, drip that could wait? Right. Then you could start to field to see, okay, I need to get the technician out now. And you could automate that pings to the technician's phone. So he or she knows, and then they could go out and do the job. Just depending whether it's important or not. The same could be true about if you're a lawyer or what various fields that you have, right? And then you could automate those follow-ups, of course. And that's been around for maybe 10 plus years now, where you're automating follow-ups from a nurture workflow perspective. If a user does X, it's going to send out this email. If user does Y, it's going to send out that email. And then it's going to go down the chain, the funnel. We call them workflows. It's going to do that. All right, AI in operations. So automate scheduling, reminders, invoicing. Goes without saying. I will say, and I'm going to say this probably 4 times within the presentation, AI is not prepared to do your taxes unless you're prepared to get a letter or a knock on the door. So make sure you're double checking the work if it's vitally important to your success. You can't leave this to do its own thing because there are mistakes and stuff, and I'm going to get into the pitfalls of that. Predictive inventory needs. So I think Shopify now is starting to have this. I think WooCommerce is not far behind. Magento and some of those enterprise e-commerce platforms are starting to get these as well, where it will be predictive in your inventory needs. It will know automatically, okay, Black Friday, we're headed towards that. It's going to be big. 3 months before I need to flush the inventory, make sure I have enough or pad it. You can start to figure out and track and monitor that, and you can set up guardrails for it to automatically update inventory. So if you have like a 3PL or you're ordering from outside somewhere, you could automatically have it send out an email that says to your production team or your overseas manufacturing company, however you're operating, hey, please produce X. Send to me, need buy this. That email could be automated and be sent out. Let's say it needs to be done 3 months before Black Friday, so you're flush with inventory. Streamlining workflows. I talked about this in terms of the nurture campaigning, right? What I call workflows, but you could do this as well with your team. So, and some of this has already been done. You think about Monday, Basecamp, what's the Microsoft one everyone uses, Teams, and the software for that. You could streamline your jobs for your team. So you know what the system looks like in terms of org chart. You could then send out pre-built job postings for what they have to do. So here is what you have to do Monday, then sends out another one Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That just quickly gets you to the beach quicker, hanging out. You guys need to get into entrepreneurship to sit in the weeds and do this for the next 40, 50 years, sending out emails and doing things. Eventually you want to let go of the reins and let this stuff automate and run itself. With that being said, you need to look at some of the workflow operations. All right, AI and customer service, we talked about this, but the chatbots, depending on what it is. Now, again, you could really alienate, piss off, or turn off your audience real quickly with some of the chatbot systems. So you have to make sure you're auditing it continually. So if you find that there's a heavy bounce rate or a heavy drop off on your website, a lot of that you're finding leads to the chatbot. The time on site is about 10 minutes, and then people aren't converting, they're leaving. You can start to diagnose some of that. We'll talk about that in the web meeting when we have that in 2 weeks. We're going to get a lot deeper with some of the stuff in that conversation. That's really the goal in making cash revenue. But the chatbot can be great. It could also be bad. So you have to monitor and audit your customer service experience digitally, the same as you would if someone's at the POS or you have little 18-year-old pimply Jimmy picking up the phone saying, "Hey, yo, what's up?" instead of what he's supposed to say from an SOP perspective. So you really have to monitor that. Instant ticket routing. So this is great if you're in IT or if you're in some kind of fintech where you have tickets that need to be pulled so you can have your team do stuff. An example would be if you're in a trade, right? Let's say you're an electrician, but you do it for commercial application, and you have a lot of commercial clients. Say you manage apartment complexes that have 200 or more units, and you have plenty of those, multiple buildings that you work on. Mrs. Jones outlets broken today. This has happened, that's happened. You could come up with a ticket routing system to know when and how you have to send out your team, and your team could automatically receive a text doing that. So you're eliminating a couple chains of command there, a couple layers from the renter saying, "Hey, I have an issue," which appears in a bunch of renters-friendly CRMs where they pay bills, do tickets. That ticket gets pulled out. It gets pulled to Master Center, and then that Master Center says it has to go to X trade person, depending on what the issue is, right? And then, of course, we have our personalized responses from that. You could, based on the consumer sentiment and what they're saying, AI could be predictive in that it could say, do this, do that, do that. Send this variable input, send that, or send this person is angry, you need to dispel that. This person is overtly happy, you need to send them up the chain of command to potentially be sold. Or this person is mediocre on it, let's put them in a long-term nurture funnel, right? So there are various methods here in terms of personalized response that feel personal, but they're actually not. All right, AI for content creation. I'm sure you've all seen this and gotten pretty confused about it, depending on who you are, how savvy you are. There's a lot out there in terms of content creation right now, from doing it on social media to video stuff that feels very real, and this is dangerous. It can be, or it can't be, depending. So what I'll say here, and I'm going to talk further about this when we get down to like social media and all that, when we get down to that bucket, is you have to be aware of what your brand is and who it's for. So younger generation, younger audience, obviously a little more savvy. They're a little bit more able to predict that it was generated through AI, and sometimes you get a ding for that. If you're skewing a little bit older, let's say you handle senior centers, they're not more as inclined to know. But you do have to watch the imagery. I'm going to show you a funny example. But you have to know and understand your brand. And I'm going to get into that in the web conversation. But you have to know your audience, know your brand, and see if it makes sense for you to use AI for content creation. There is a time and a place. Coming from a previous background where I was more of a creative director, I was in more of that role. You can't always find an image, like a stock image for your vision, right? I need to find a brown coffee cup that's sitting on a yellow countertop that's in front of a sunset with a yellow lab barking in the background, right? You're not always going to be able to find that perfect image that you need, but you could generate that with AI. So there is a time and place for this stuff. It's gray right now in terms of copywriting, whereas if you were to pull a image off the web, you could get sent a cease and desist. I've seen it happen plenty of times in my career. But AI doesn't have that yet. Do I think that might come down the pipeline at some point? Yeah. I mean, they're still trying to figure out how to monetize this. That's why they so-called say we're in a quote unquote AI bubble. The bubble really is finance. How do you make this financially viable for a business? They don't know yet. But is that a path that they can make it financially viable? Absolutely. Are they trying to do that? Yes. Will eventually there be legality clauses in this once government catches up and some of these big box businesses catch up? Yes. So don't hang your hat on it, but it is a tool you can use. Designing visuals quickly, I've talked about that. And then video scripting. I find this is really great for training. So you run an ice cream shop, right? Or you run a hair salon and you have a very stringent system procedural operation that you have, but you can't hire an HR person. You're a small business. You can't spend $100,000+ a year for an HR person to sit in a desk and train or manage somebody. At the same time, you also can't hire a videographer to come up with these great videos that you need for training purposes. So you're sitting there in a Word document trying to write, okay, step 1, you do this, step 2, step 3. That's not how the younger generation runs. They're very they get very sidetracked. They essentially have AD or ADHD, where they got 3 seconds and then they're on to the next thing. So video works a lot better than scripting does, right? So you can make an AI video. There's no love loss here because it's for my staff. It's behind the scenes. It's not for the consumer. So if it's a little hokey or it feels more AI, it feels more computer driven, that's fine. Who cares? They're going to learn something. They're going to learn how to clean the ice cream machine or when to lock the door or how to manage the POS or make more inventory. They're going to learn all that. And I did it for pennies on the dollar, if that, right? So again, great system for you to train a potential person in less time, right? We know training means capital. If I have to spend 5 weeks training somebody, that's cash burned, right? If I instead could shrink that window till they become an expert at their job in 2 weeks, now I've saved 3 weeks worth of potential revenue that I'm now dumping into an employee who doesn't know. So again, you got to try to find some of these means, for these realistic means for small business and some of these ideas you can base. I'm going to get into the how to do that and how to go about all that shortly. All right, AI for finance. You can automate expenses and invoicing. Again, *****. No legal advice here, but don't let AI do your taxes. Forecasting budgets and sales, right? You could look at some of the potential budgets that you have for fiscal. We're heading into 2026. I want a couple more dollars for marketing. I want to give that good old money to Google for ads, right? I want to hire an expert to do that. So forecasting your budgets, where can I afford to spend money? What is it looking like for next year? AI can help you do that. You can reduce bookkeeping errors. If you have someone who's manually doing it, you could have AI run a script to review the spreadsheet. Now, again, You have two different systems there. The same as I would say, don't trust AI just to do this by itself. I wouldn't trust a human to do this by itself either. So if I have a redundancy system in place and both are telling me green light, good to go, I know I'm good to go, right? So checks and balances saves you the time from looking over, hundreds and hundreds of lines of or columns within an Excel sheet, right? So there's opportunity there in finance. You could do forecasting. I've already talked about building a business model and then working with the SBDC on said business model. So there's opportunity for you as well there. Now we're going to get into it. So automating repetitive tasks is probably the number one thing I could say that you should be using AI for as an entrepreneur. And again, if you wanted to know how to edit your wedding photo that you got divorced to get rid of your husband or wife, that's not what we're doing here. We're going to talk about how this could impact your business. So automating repetitive tasks. So data entry, customer engagement. We've talked about both those things already. Customer support, which we touched on. I would be weary about customer support depending on what it is. If if you're a lawyer and you're dealing with family law, that's very personal. I'm not going to want to sit and noodle around with an AI thing. I'm just going to make a call to the next competitor. So you have to understand and know your industry. If you're a barbershop and you're just trying to automate so somebody can book an appointment and you're trying to get them to the right person to book an appointment, great, automate that. That's AI right there. Appointment setting, I just talked about that. And then follow-ups on it. Did you do the appointment? Did you go to the appointment? How was the appointment? Leave us a Google review. Leave us a this review. Tell your friend about us. All that stuff can and should be automated in a workflow scenario using your CRM. All right. Now I talked about examples in customer service, but let's beat this down. So customer service automation from the start to the handoff. So you would do your pass off to a rep, right, or somebody that's there. But now you're at the same time, right? You used to have somebody to field inquiries, and then they would get through certain layers. You could probably delete a couple layers in your sales pipeline and just maybe have a part-time salesperson right now because you have AI there that's trying to funnel tasks. How valuable is this lead? You have a sales team that's spending a lot of time trying to get somebody to close. Get them to show up, set an appointment, show up, and then close said appointment. You could probably eliminate and then just get a real person for the close portion of it, right? Chat bots, that's kind of how that all works in tandem with that. The voice assist. So there is a time and a place for voice assist. I don't feel it's 100% there yet, depending on what you do, but you could use it for prompting purposes, right? Because voice assist is getting better at understanding command, right? You think about, again, Siri, the one I won't say. Those are pretty good at understanding and coming up with what you're saying. Now, keep in mind, ChatGPT, voice assist, what are they? They're search engines, essentially. They're scouring the web, trying to find you an answer as quick as possible. It's coming from various places. As an SEO, SEM expert, I find a lot of it's either coming from threads, like a Reddit thread, which is surprising. It's coming through P2P reviews. It's coming from a lot of times Bing, which is interesting. Except for Google Gemini, that's not true for Gemini, but you're finding it's coming through a lot of third-party places and it's compiling the information and it's giving you the output variable. What that is really just key terms in SEO. So it's still a new industry that we're boiling down in terms of SEM marketing. But I am seeing a lot, I've segued here a little bit, but I am seeing a lot more conversion events. Book an appointment, request a consultation, fill out a form, ring the phone, buy a product. I'm seeing a lot more of that now start to come from some of these chat bots or search engines, right? AI search engines. So keep that in mind. But the voice assist, anyway, the voice assist portion of it does have its place where it could send you to the appropriate pipeline or channel. Instead of press 1 if you're looking for this, press 2 if you're looking for that. It could understand the command prompt based on the consumer. Now you can start to understand based on the consumer sentiment too. And that's when you could say, I need to escalate this quickly because they might cancel or they're very pissed off. You could start to segment that too. And that's where voice interaction and in terms of AI is going. Sentiment analysis, I accidentally spoke on that when I'm talking about consumer sentiment. And then machine learning. Again, it's going to learn and grow your business model over time and become a better sales rep or customer service rep. All right, AI and marketing. I kind of already started to go down that rabbit hole in terms of talking about SEM marketing. You need to, so there's a time and place for certain stuff. Audio visual. Now, I have a slide I think in here where there's a lady with there's a finger, she's got 17 fingers or something. You see a lot of that. A lot of stuff will be like kind of spelled like stop. It will be meshed up. You'll see that things are still not right, and you have to really finesse it to get it right. You can, but that takes time. Um, with audio and visual stuff, sometimes you just can't get that photo that you need from stock photography, and you want to send out an email. You don't have the ability to hire a skilled photographer or videographer. Okay, that makes sense then for you. You just have to make sure things are on brand for yourself. We're going to get to a point where, let me preface, I started my career as a creative director. I'm an ROI first marketer. I care about dollars and cents. How many dollars go in my pocket versus how many dollars are going out, right? That's why I love what I do. How can I maximize the amount of dollars that go in the register versus what I have to spend out, right? And I deal with that with a lot of small businesses to try to get them to maximize that. But you also have to consider taking that ROI hat off. You have to consider your brand and your brand vision. If you look sloppy, if everything looks like a career fair or everything looks like automated AI images, that's going to be a ding for you longer term in terms of building your brand. Or you have a pizzeria and you want to turn it into a franchise, right? Well, you're going to have to spend the time, the capital investment to build your brand to make it look like a large franchise. You think Pizza Hut is using AI for every single email they send out? More than likely not. And though we don't have the capital for that, it's a consideration you have to make when you think about where I want my business to be in 3, 5, 10 years. If you're somebody that wants to scale into a regional franchise, you need to be thinking about that now and planting the seeds for that now. So again, another little asterisk here. But you can use it for photography creation. It's great for a little paid advertising. You're going to do some pay-per-click, PPC with Google or Bing or something like that. Great. I don't care. Use that all you want. I will say it's not really great right now for taking an image and blowing it up to be the size of a business, to be the size of a billboard, or put it on the side of a building. It's getting there, but you're talking a lot of pixels there, or dots. It's DPI, not PPI when you print something out. But 3D modeling is getting better at 3D modeling. You think about 3D rendering for architectural purposes. You just put down the deposit on the storefront, and you need to do a little bit of remodeling, and you need to submit those plans to the town, right, for their review. When you do that, you used to have to hire an architect, and they'd have to do it, and then you have to hire a CAD guy so they can make a 3D rendering of the stuff. You could kind of cut some of that out now, right? Of course, you're going to need an architect to kind of submit approved plans, blah, blah, blah. But when you're talking about rendering stuff out, you want to move things around, you can do that a lot easier now in AI than you've ever been able to do with something like a Blender or a Cinema 4D, where you have to spend years learning it. Avatars and virtual influencers. You're seeing more and more virtual influencers where they're selling a product. They feel like they're a real person. They have millions of followers, right? There's now companies, marketing companies that solely build AI personas and then market like they're an affiliate marketer. It's getting pretty wild out there, and it's getting harder and harder to know that that's a real person or not. I get a little scared for the future here, what we're doing and that's where I see you're talking about the Terminator, right? T1000. I think T1000 is going to exist digitally and tell you what you should or shouldn't buy and kind of influence the market based on that. That's probably another presentation altogether, but that's a direction too in terms of influencing. You could build out personas if you're somebody who does that kind of work. Product experience, again, you could build videos based on product experience, unboxing, stuff like that to make your boost your product. So summary there are tools and avenues that you could leverage, and I'm going to touch on a couple tools at the end of this. I'm sure that's the question here. You can use that to build stuff. Programming and data assistance, we've talked about that, right? You could use it for data entry, great. I would think about your entry-level services, the things you need for data entry, customer relationship, things of that nature. Natural language, you could write some copy, for an ad, right? SEM, SEO copy, you have to watch out for because it's going to pull canonical copy, and you don't want that in terms of Google. And you have to know what keywords you want to go after and blah, blah, blah. But it is good for if I want to write a headline because I'm doing an ad in the Penny Saver or something, right? It's really good for emails, right? I need to send out emails. I need to, I'm posting a job and I want to make sure I'm getting everything I need in there for the job requirements. You could fill that out. You could do that using AI. A lot of the iHire, all those, they're now starting to use AI to kind of finesse your job posting as well. Design. So you could use this for 3D modeling. As I said, you can use this for various avenues in terms of design. We talked about this. My advice is if you're looking to create a logo, hire somebody. Don't use AI for that because it's going to always feel like it's AI driven. Unless again, you're going to be a corner store, a little corner mom and pop store, and your intentions aren't to grow and scale. If your intentions here are to grow and scale, again, you have to take some consideration there of where the business is going 3, 6, 9, et cetera, years from now. All right, now I talked about AI in terms of search. I'm just giving you an example here, how to start an LLC. You now see the AI overview, right, where you're getting the AI overview, and then it comes with a video. You get the knowledge panel over here where you're getting additional stuff that's ranking. So the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and I believe you're getting the IRS here where it's anchored in SERPs or search organically. I don't see any ads for this. So you would see if this was something different, it would probably have the AI overview, which is Gemini from Google. Then it would have the shopping feed. And then after the shopping feed, it would have probably the FAQ, frequently asked questions. Then it might have some ads, and then below that, it's going to have the organic listings. So it's really going to depend on what the product or service is or the query. But here you're just getting the AI overview. Now you're getting links, right? So as a digital marketer that's trying to now show up in AI, I'll check to see where some of these competitor links are showing up. You're going to find they're coming from third-party sites, as I said, Reddit and other places. So with that being said, when looking, okay, I want to show up in the AI overview, you want to look to see where the competitor has the link. But this is essentially AI. This is going to change. Google is literally changing this every day. They're starting to include it in Gmail now, and their sheets and presentation, which I'm using currently here. But you're going to see this. You're going to see more and more of it and how it's being used. All right, AI and social media posts. We've talked about this, and you're getting this essentially a lot of times. And I could spot an AI-driven image or brand pretty quickly now. I'm sure a lot of people can as well. I do find it a little disingenuous, a little bit cold and annoying, but there is a place for it and there is an audience for it depending on what you're doing. Is it better than doing nothing? Absolutely. So if you don't have the capital for a real videographer, photographer, etc., my options are to use AI or do nothing. I would use AI, try it out, see if you get, you cast on the line, see if you get some fish. I think it's possible. It's more than possible, but you have to understand and know your brand, and you don't want to look silly. This is silly, and you're just going to get negative comments. So again, you got to make sure you're doing a quality control assessment here when you're generating some of this stuff. All right. I talked about the business plan and the marketing plan. So your business plan was the pizzeria example I gave you, where you had X, you had X dollars, and you were selling a pizza for X, and given market, how many pizzas would I have to sell? I've given you that. You would take this business plan, you would bring it to the SBDC or some you bring it to a financial advisor, you bring it to an angel investor or a hard money lender if you need that type of stuff. Marketing plan, you can have it help you strategize a long-term marketing plan, and then you're just going down the checklist. Okay, marketing plan says the first step is I probably need a great website, wink, wink. Next step from there is I probably need to look at said website that went live and see how I could optimize it for SEM, SEO search purposes. Great. Then I'm saying, okay, I'm getting traffic to the website. I have some capital. I want to take that capital and invest it in paid marketing. Great. What am I doing for email automation? Am I doing anything there? I should be. Okay, great. And then you're going down a rabbit hole to make sure you're checking off all the boxes in terms of 360 digital lifecycle marketing, as well as guerrilla or tangible marketing, as I call it, which is putting a banner on the side of the road. You get walking traffic. The truck was parked at, X, or I handed out flyers doing this. So you could come up with that entire strategy to help you build an entire marketing plan, and then you're just kind of filling in the blanks. Top 10 uses for AI in small business that I find. So chatbot and customer support and consumer sentiment analysis. Forecasting sales. So I told the past 2 fiscal years I've made X, I grew this. What am I thinking about doing in year 3, 5, and 10 based on those projections? It could help you build and forecast those projections. It could spit out a spreadsheet, a cute pie chart. You could take that stuff, and now I've been in business for 3 to 5 years, and I'm looking to get some working capital. Here's my data. Great. They're going to love that. Price optimization. Do the research. Does it make sense for me to sell $10 pizza pies? Can I be $20 a pie? Do I have to be $5 a pie, which is going to be gross pizza? But price optimization. It's going to do the competitive research to tell you what competitors are spending without you going to the pizzeria itself and getting a pie. Smart cybersecurity. So in certain cases, you could use AI to kind of do predictive analysis if your site is being X or anything malicious is going on. We've had this for years as hosting websites where it will tell site is down, et cetera, or this has happened to the website. But there are cybersecurity things in place. If you have a full digital presence and your business exists digitally, there are tools or tricks of the trade you should be putting together in terms of cybersecurity. I talked about the competitive analysis when I was talking about price optimization. Product recommendations or things that should be recommended. Who is the best CPA in town, right? Who is the best lawyer? What is the best spatula to use for making wedding cakes? I don't know. You can use it to recommend products and recommend services locally or regionally to you. Automating operations. Eventually you get to a point where you have, okay, I'm automating my email workflow. I'm automating my customer relationship. I'm automating my sales pipeline or sales funnel. I'm automating everything to the close. And then once they close, that financial is all being automatically put in said bucket to reinvest and do this. And then my my products are automatically being replenished, right? Because I set up an automation chain to ping and send email to my vendors, and I have my 3PL set up. So you're starting to completely automate your entire business model there. It can help you make informed decisions, as we talked about, and it can also enhance in-store experiences. You present your layout of your store, your physical storefront in AI. You say, okay, what optimally makes sense that I could put certain products in the front of the store. That's what we call the end cap, the aisle violators, the last minute purchases. That's why if you ever go to a Marshall's and you're sitting online for 4,000 hours and you're going through the thing, they give you all the little tchotchkes from the candles to the BS. That's on purpose. They're trying to make you go through that line of hell. So this way you put more stuff in your basket. Is that something that makes sense? AI could help you decide what to put there from a product standpoint and how to present it. Now, getting started. I've said a lot of things here. Getting started, keep it simple. I'm big into do less, 100% rather than do 50 things 2%. Example I'll give you is social media. I get clients who come to me and say, I want to be on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest. I want to have a LinkedIn profile. I want to do Facebook. And they're currently doing nothing and they're failing at it. Well, you can't do that all 100%. Pick the top 2 things where we think we're going to get the most customers. Let's do that. Let's do that successfully. And then let's grow and let's build on it. The same principle is true here. So you need to make a list of everything you do as an entrepreneur or a business owner. Everything from turn the lights on to pay the bills, right? Give each task a time, okay? It takes me 4 seconds to turn the lights on. It takes me 15 freaking hours to run payroll like an idiot. Great. Then you need to rank that list. All right, turn the lights on I need to do. The payroll portion of it, I, of course, also need to do. So that's number 1, turn on the lights. Number 2, probably, right? Now, once you have a priority list there, whether it's the most important or the least important, you need to take those tasks and see, is there something I could use or a tool that I can automate, right? Can I automate turning the lights on? Yeah, you can actually, right? Can I automate payroll? Yeah, you can actually through AI. So you need to take those tasks and define them and see if there's an AI solution for that. And if there is, you can figure out how to implement that. And that's just simple research, right? You can use AI to research the best way to do it. There's a lot of AI tools out there, from content creation. You have Jasper, you have ChatGPT, of course. There's AI Writer, and there's Phrase. ChatGPT tends to be the biggest player here. I think that's just because they were an early adopter. AI tools for marketing and sales. So you have things like Hemingway, Wingman, Surfer. I like Wingman. I like Hemingway myself. AI proofreaders. Grammarly is the one that I use as a marketer who looks at copy all day. Design tools. There's a lot of them. Adobe's kind of capitalized that market. They're cornering it, but there's other ones out there as well. AI for HR and business management. These are the ones that I've found. I haven't used either of these, but they both have great reviews. Project and time management. Timely is the one that I've used before to success. Video editing. There's a lot out there in terms of video editing. Adobe now has its own product as well since I've made this. And then transcripting tools. People are using those. So, for example, if you wanted to get transcripts from this presentation and hear my silly quips and things I've said, there's transcribing tools now. So for you, if you have a business, you're always on Zoom and you need to transcribe that. You used to have to hire somebody to sit there and do. You don't really have to do that anymore. It can automatically send out the notes. I've been on plenty of meetings like that. All right, and now considerations and challenges. There's data privacy issues. There is literally no data consideration here. Where the data is stored, what's going to happen with said data. That is going to change. I promise you that. This has happened. I've seen this happen building websites and marketing said websites. The California Privacy Act and the GDPR, we have to comply to those now. And that's why you see the little pop-ups that happen that say consent, this is what you can and can't do with said information on websites. That's already in place. I've seen plenty of people get sued for that. So implementation costs here. There can be a cost. I hate models that everything's a subscription. Everything now is a subscription. It's so annoying. Soon toilet paper and air we breathe, there's going to be a subscription for it. You got to pay $3.99 to Charmin to get your toilet paper, right? So you got to look out for those inherent costs. It's one of the reasons why Shopify is not my favorite. Sorry. But every time you want something, you have to add a plugin, add this or that. Okay, we're going to charge you $5.99 a month, and then that adds up very quickly. You were better off just paying the $4,000 or $5,000 to get the damn site built, rather than paying X dollars per month for the rest of your existence. So you have to think about the implementation costs involved, if there is any. Ethical considerations, there are those. Plagiarism, those things happen. SEO penalties I am seeing happen because it's all canonical copy. A lot of this copy is pulled off of other websites. And when that's like that, if you have two pieces of copy that feel similar to one another, Google's going to say, we don't care about either one. This is new with the AI portion of it. The penalties is not. But you have to consider that when writing content for SEM purposes. And I talked about the plagiarism and things that don't sound organic. You got to be mindful of that too. All right, I'm Frank Corrao from Active Web Group. You can find me at activewebgroup.com. I'm going to look at the chat now. I'm going to unshare my screen. I'm going to go through some of the questions if you have any, and then if anyone wanted to raise their hands and ask some questions, I'm happy to discuss. And as I said, you can always email me if you have something you want to talk about. You have a very specific use case. You have something going on in terms of your business and marketing. I'm always happy to hear about it. All right. I don't see any questions. Unless you put them in the questions panel. Let's see. Nope. Anyone have any questions for me? First time I don't have any questions.
Maybe we can give them a few minutes to think about their questions. I don't see any questions in the chat box. That is where it would be.
Yep. Yeah, there's also a question panel.
Okay,
go for it, Justin.
we have one.
Go for it, Justin.
Thanks a lot. Good morning, Gifty, and thanks for that presentation. Hold on once. My question is, I use ChatGPT and Canva, and can I use those tools in combination, or should I use one of those other AI tools you mentioned?
Whatever you're comfortable with, really. There's no right or wrong answer. Again, we're in like the precipice of a whole new, thing happening here. So there's no like use this, use that. This communicates with that. There's no API call between the programs at the moment. That's going to change because consolidation in the industry is just bound to happen. That's what happens in fintech. But at the moment, the way it exists, there's not a whole lot of API integration. One program speaking to another,
Yeah.
unless you have a CRM, right? That has the stuff built in that's being powered by X software. So I like there are tools that I like for various tasks. If you're comfortable with using something, then I absolutely would stay the course on that.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Frank. Because I haven't experimented too much with the agent mode in chat because I have a business plan. But my hope was, it would be great if, chat could use Canva templates and then create based on the instructions I give it. But like you said, maybe that's not quite here yet.
Yeah, that seems to be the sentiment. Not everything is there yet. Some things are, some things aren't. I again the last half of the presentation where I was telling you as an entrepreneur, what are some tasks I could automate or send out. I think that's your best bet, right? And you have to just consider everything as its own individual a la carte thing. Like I said, something silly like turning the lights on and off, silly, but hey, now there's an AI tool for that. There's a couple with this with the Alexas and other ones of the world where you can have it automate that and do that for you. And the same with the payroll and all that, which is done in tandem with ADP or some of the like.
I believe Justin has a question. Justin, can you unmute, please, and ask your question?
Oh, that was me.
Oh, was that you?
I started
Okay.
typing, but then I thought I'll just talk out loud.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you know of any training platforms to use for small business that is AI foundation? You're talking about training for AI purposes. Yeah, I actually think there is. I know there's one through Linda, AI training course. It's going to depend because there's so much out there. Coursera has one, Masters of Fundamental AI. That's probably the one I would recommend. So go to Coursera.org and you could probably get them. There is a cost involved in that though, so keep that in mind. Right? Do you know? Yeah, Doc, go
That's
ahead,
what
Doc.
you just said.
I'll leave my information here.
And I have a quick question too. You talked about the transcribing tool. I know of
Yes.
AI Companion, but you mentioned another one. I did not get it. Can you
There's a
repeat
lot of
that?
them out there now. I'm going to tell you let's see.
The top three.
Every time I'm on a meeting now, someone's got their own tool. Let's see. When is my next meeting that somebody has one? It also depends what service you're using. So if you're using Zoom,
Right.
there are specific to Zoom. I'm
Zoom.
a I'm a Google guy, so
Mhm,
Google Meet.
mhm.
Don't hate me,
Okay.
everybody, but I love using Google, more so Google Meet. There's one for Teams. I never use Teams.
Right.
Don't even
Yeah.
Teams. But let me see. Otter, and Fireflies.
Otter, right.
They're both .ai. So Otter and
Okay.
Fireflies .ai. They're both great. I think Otter seems to be the better one, or the one people are more adopting
Right.
to. But
Right.
again, all that stuff's very early on.
Okay.
Are there tools to secure AI
Thank you.
data? No, I mean, if you're talking about inputting something and then, so if on your website you have a chatbot, right? You need to make sure you have a GDPR, California Privacy Act, regardless. If you do anything with data, this is the first thing I'll say, it has nothing to do with AI. You need to make sure you have those policies in place on your website because you could get in trouble. It's happened before. It's happened to my small business. It's happened to my large enterprise business, and they'll come and they'll sue you because that's what they love doing. There are law firms that just specialize in doing that. Also, the ADA, the accessibility compliance, where you have to have certain things on your website that have compliance factor. Moreover, your data. You need to make sure you have a compliance, a policy, and procedure in the footer of your website. What you do with said data, all this stuff is you can just blanket put a policy up there readily available. But you need to put that, and then you need to have a consent banner on your website. Important. I'm going to say this again, very important for everybody. Now, with the chatbots, that's taking the data and storing it on your website. So it's not something I would really worry about where it's going AI. But what I would worry about is what you're saying to ChatGPT and where that data is going. Eventually, I told you, everything is dollars and cents, that's going to be monetized somehow. And that data stored is going to be monetized. And eventually someone's going to be on Capitol Hill dealing with it. So that hasn't happened yet. We're very new to this stuff, but just be ready for that. I wouldn't share your social security number with anything that's AI driven. So all I'll say there, but you can, when it comes to your website and securing your leads and prospect or customers' data, you have to make sure you're doing that. That has nothing to do with AI. You just have to make sure there's a consent mode for that. I hope that sort of answered something for you at least. Ed, what's going on, Ed?
Yes. Hi, Frank. Thank you so much for the very useful presentation. I have two questions. One is, can you please recommend an AI tool that can record a meeting that is in person?
Oh, a meeting that's in person.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's there. When you talk about AI tools, everything's online. I didn't even think the real world exists.
Well, imagine like there are so many meetings, right, that we still participate in person. And,
Yep.
and then we still need to take some minutes, right?
And the transcribe, yeah.
Right, but I know these tools, like Zoom itself has actually automated kind of transcribing, but I haven't come across a tool that would record a meeting in person and transcribe it for you.
Otter can do that. I just did a quick Google for you there.
Mm-hmm.
Otter can actually transcribe real meetings. I think you just have to have like a microphone or something. So you probably have to have your laptop popped open and listening to the meeting.
Well, I don't know if the quality, because depending on the acoustics and on the kind of distance of people.
You got to test it and try it. Right. I mean, if you're in a meeting with people, probably I would have either my phone or something, and just let them know you're going to be recording this for transcribing purposes, and you'll send them the transcripts of the call, and then you'd be able to do that with one of those Otter or something like that. I think that's probably the easiest way to go about that.
Okay, and the second quick question: will it be possible to share this presentation? PowerPoint presentation.
That's up to my friends here at the SBDC.
Okay. I will find out, Keisha, if you're on.
Yes,
it takes a few days, right?
Yeah, it takes a few days. What is today? Thursday. So by Tuesday of next week, it just takes a couple of days.
About 10 days or so.
Yeah.
To have it on the website. Okay. Thank you, Keisha.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any more questions? The last call for questions. All right. So thank you, Frank. This has really been remarkable. I hope everyone got a lot of value. I know I did. So thank you again. Now, after the workshop closes, you'll receive a survey. Please take a moment to fill it out and give us feedback. We want more of this in the future, so your feedback really is important to us, so we know how best to organize this. So again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Frank, again. And he will be on for another workshop on December 4th, I believe.
Yep,
right?
that's a great one. It's going to be about taking your website, making it great, and trying to use it to sell. That's like the core of what we're talking about here. So definitely attend that. Tell your friends.
So don't miss that workshop. All right. Thanks again for donating your time, Frank. Thank you, everyone. You know where to find us. I know Kayla put the link in there if you need to book an appointment to speak with us. Keisha, I think we do have you will get the survey as soon as you get off the workshop.
Yes.
So please, as I said, it's important. We need that feedback. I appreciate you all. Thank you. Have a good day.
The December 4th one, someone's asking. That's on the website as well?
It's on the website as well,
registration is open.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keisha.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone. Thank you, Kayla.
Bye-bye.